Hey, you! Omar Khalil's voice explodes across the Meridian restaurant as he slams his hand on table 12. Get over here now! His face twists with rage as he points aggressively at Amara Johnson, a young black woman carefully setting down water glasses 3 tables away. Other diners freeze mid-conversation. Omar erupts in Arabic, his voice echoing off the crystal chandeliers. This worthless girl is moving like a turtle. These ignorant people have no place in a restaurant like this. He storms toward Amara, still screaming in Arabic. Look at her stupid face. She probably doesn't even know what language I'm speaking. They hire anyone these days, even people who belong on the streets. Amara's hands tremble slightly as she continues her work, the crystal pitcher catching the light. Omar towers over her, his final Arabic insult cutting through the stunned silence. Brainless monkeys could do better than this pathetic excuse for service. Then Amara looks up and speaks. Have you ever been so invisible to someone that they revealed their true character right in front of you? Amara sets down her pitcher with steady hands. The restaurant holds its breath. Excuse me, sir, she says quietly in perfect Arabic. Do you need assistance with something? Omar's mouth falls open. His phone slips from his hand, clattering onto the marble floor. You speak Arabic? He stammers in English, his face draining of color. Yes, I do, Amara replies, still in Arabic, her tone professional despite the storm in her eyes. I understood every word you just said about me. The silence stretches like a taut wire. Omar's dinner companion shifts uncomfortably. A waiter pauses mid-step with a tray of wine glasses. Omar's phone starts buzzing on the floor. The screen shows Saudi investors urgent. He scrambles to pick it up, but the call goes to voicemail. His hands shake as he tries calling back. No answer. This can't be happening, he mutters in Arabic, forgetting again that Amara understands. The biggest deal of my career, and my translator just canceled. The Saudi investors land in 2 hours. He looks around desperately at the other diners. Does anyone here speak Arabic? Anyone at all? I'll pay $1,000. Silence. Omar's panic rises. He calls his translator again, straight to voicemail. Amara watches him spiral, her professional composure intact despite the humiliation still burning in her chest. Finally, she speaks. I could help you with your call. Omar stares at her as if she's appeared from thin air. You would do that? After what I just... The question is, Amara says quietly, do you want my help or not? Omar hesitates, pride warring with desperation. His expensive watch ticks loudly in the silence. Fine, he says finally. But just make the call. Tell them I'll meet them at 8. Amara takes his phone. Her fingers move confidently across the screen as she dials the Saudi number. The phone rings once, twice. A deep voice answers in Arabic. Peace be upon you, Amara responds in fluent Arabic, her pronunciation flawless. This is calling on behalf of Mr. Omar Khalil regarding tonight's meeting. Omar's eyebrows shoot up. She didn't just say hello, she used the full traditional greeting with perfect intonation. The Saudi investor continues in rapid Arabic. Amara listens intently, occasionally nodding. One moment, please, she says in Arabic, then covers the phone. They want to move the meeting to 6:30 instead of 8. There's been a change in their flight schedule. That's impossible, Omar whispers. I need at least 3 hours to prepare the presentation. Amara uncovers the phone. What happens next makes Omar's jaw drop. She begins explaining in flawless Arabic a modified timeline that accommodates both parties. But it's not just her language skills that astound Omar. It's her understanding of business protocol. She uses formal titles correctly. She acknowledges the cultural importance of flexibility while maintaining respect for both parties' needs. The Saudi investor's tone shifts, becoming more engaged. You speak our language beautifully, he says in Arabic. Are you Mr. Khalil's cultural consultant? Amara glances at Omar, who's staring at her like she's performing magic. I work with Mr. Khalil's team, she responds diplomatically. We want to ensure tonight's meeting honors both American business efficiency and traditional Saudi courtesy. For the next 5 minutes, Omar listens to Amara navigate complex scheduling, cultural sensitivities, and business logistics. She switches effortlessly between formal Arabic and the more casual dialect she recognizes in the investor's speech. When she mentions specific details about Islamic finance principles and halal business practices, Omar's mouth goes dry. Excellent. the Saudi investor concludes. 6:30 at the Meridian, and please ensure your cultural consultant joins us. Her understanding of our customs is refreshing. Amara ends the call and hands the phone back to Omar. They'll be here at 6:30, she says simply. Table for 4 instead of 3. They want me to join the meeting. Omar stares at the phone, then at Amara, then back at the phone. How did you... He starts, then stops. How do you know about Islamic finance? Around them, other diners have been subtly listening. A businessman at table 8 leans forward, clearly impressed. The couple at table 6 whispers admiringly. Lucky guess, Amara says, but there's something in her eyes, a depth that suggests this is just the surface. Omar's mind races. In 10 minutes, this waitress has demonstrated language skills that rival his best translators, cultural knowledge that his expensive consultants lack, and business acumen that saved his biggest deal. Who are you? He asks quietly. Before Amara can answer, David Carter, the restaurant owner, approaches their table. He's been watching from across the room, and his expression shows both concern and curiosity. Is everything all right here? David asks, though his eyes are fixed on Amara with newfound respect. Everything's fine, Omar says slowly, still processing what just happened. Actually, everything's better than fine. But questions swirl in his mind. How does a restaurant server speak Arabic like a diplomat? Where did she learn about Islamic banking? And why is she working here instead of somewhere that values these incredible skills? We should probably prepare for your meeting, Amara says, checking her watch. You have 2 hours. Omar nods numbly, but one thought keeps echoing in his head. What else doesn't he know about the woman he just spent 5 minutes humiliating? Amara's mind drifts as Omar processes what just happened. She remembers another kitchen 20 years ago. Her grandmother Layla stood at the stove, rolling grape leaves with weathered hands. The smell of cinnamon and cardamom filled their small apartment. Language is a bridge, Habibti, her grandmother would say in accented English, switching between Arabic and English as naturally as breathing. When you speak someone's language, you touch their heart. Little Amara would sit cross-legged on the linoleum floor, practicing Arabic letters while her grandmother cooked. Every story came with a lesson. Every meal came with new words. Why do I need to learn this, Teta? 8-year-old Amara had asked. Because knowledge is the one thing no one can take from you, her grandmother replied, teaching her the formal greetings, the business terms, the cultural nuances that would later save Omar's deal. The memory shifts to 5 months ago. Amara stood in her tiny studio apartment, staring at a rejection letter from Georgetown University. We regret to inform you that while your qualifications are impressive, we have decided to move forward with candidates who have more practical industry experience. It was rejection number 47. Her PhD diploma hung crooked on the wall above a stack of unpaid bills. Student loan statements formed their own pile on her kitchen table. $63,000 in debt for a degree the world claimed was overqualified for every position she applied for. Dr. Johnson, she whispered to herself, the title feeling hollow in her empty apartment. Every interview ended the same way. Too educated for entry-level positions. Not experienced enough for senior roles. A catch-22 that trapped brilliant minds in service jobs. Her grandmother's voice echoed in the silence. When doors close, build your own windows. 3 months later, Amara started at the Meridian. Not because she wanted to serve tables, but because she needed to survive while searching for her next opportunity. She never imagined that opportunity would walk through the door screaming insults in Arabic. But as she watches Omar struggle to comprehend what just happened, she realizes something profound. Sometimes the biggest opportunities come disguised as the worst moments. Omar stares at Amara like he's seeing her for the first time. The restaurant buzzes with quiet conversations, but their table feels suspended in silence. I need you at that meeting, he says suddenly, as my cultural consultant. Amara blinks. I'm working my shift until 10 tonight. I'll pay you $500 for 2 hours, Omar says, desperation creeping into his voice. These investors are worth $20 million to my company. David Carter, still standing nearby, raises his eyebrows. Our staff policy doesn't allow servers to sit with customers during service hours. Omar turns to David, his business instincts kicking in. What if she wasn't technically working as a server? What if I hired her as an independent contractor for the evening? David looks at Amara, then back at Omar. Something in his expression shifts, the look of a man recognizing potential. Amara, David says carefully, do you want to do this? She hesitates. 2 hours ago, she was invisible. Now she's being offered more money than she makes in a week to do what she's actually trained for. Yes, she says quietly. But I'll need to change clothes. There's a business suit in my office, David offers. My wife left it here after our anniversary dinner. You're about the same size. 20 minutes later, Amara returns to the dining room transformed. The borrowed navy blazer fits perfectly. Her hair is pulled back professionally. She carries herself differently, shoulders back, chin up. The change is so dramatic that several diners do double takes. Omar stands as she approaches, a gesture of respect that wasn't there an hour ago. The investors just texted, he says, showing her his phone. They're 15 minutes out. Amara nods, settling into the chair across from him. What's your company's value proposition? We develop software for international logistics, Omar begins, but Amara holds up a hand. That's what you do, she says. What's your value proposition? Why should Saudi investors care about American logistics software? Omar pauses. In all his preparation, he'd focused on features and capabilities. He hadn't considered the cultural angle. Our software connects Middle Eastern suppliers with American retailers, he says slowly. Better, Amara nods. But think deeper. What cultural barriers exist in those connections? What misunderstandings cost both sides money? Omar's mind races. Language barriers, different business customs, religious considerations for products. Exactly. Your software doesn't just move goods, it bridges cultures. That's what resonates with Saudi investors who want to expand into American markets. David watches from across the restaurant, amazement clear on his face. Other staff members steal glances at their transformed colleague. How do you know all this? Omar asks. Before Amara can answer, David approaches with menus. The investors just walked in, he says quietly. 3 men in expensive suits scan the restaurant. The lead investor spots Omar and heads toward their table. As they approach, Amara feels her heart pound. This isn't a phone call anymore. This is face-to-face diplomacy with millions on the line. Omar stands to greet them, but his hands are shaking slightly. The lead investor extends his hand to Omar, then notices Amara. His expression shows mild surprise, not what he expected from a cultural consultant. Mr. Al-Rashid, Omar says, this is Amara Johnson, my cultural strategy advisor. Amara stands, extending her hand with confidence. It's an honor to meet you, she says in fluent Arabic. The investor's eyebrows raise appreciatively. He responds in Arabic, testing her fluency. What he doesn't expect is her response, not just language skills, but deep cultural knowledge that immediately puts him at ease. But Omar notices something else. A subtle tension in the investor's body language, a hesitation. This isn't going to be as easy as the phone call. The investors settle into their chairs, but Omar notices the subtle glances they exchange. Mr. Al-Rashid's initial warmth has cooled into polite formality. Shall we begin with your presentation, Mr. Khalil? Al-Rashid says in English, pointedly excluding Amara from eye contact. Omar launches into his prepared pitch about logistics software, but the energy feels flat. The investors nod politely but ask a few questions. After 15 minutes, Al-Rashid checks his watch. Perhaps we should discuss the technical specifications with your development team. It's a diplomatic dismissal. Omar's presentation is failing. During a brief pause, Al-Rashid's business partner leans over and whispers in Arabic, assuming Amara can't understand. This is not what we expected. Where are the senior executives? Why is he bringing a secretary to handle cultural matters? Amara's jaw tightens, but she maintains her professional composure. Omar notices the shift in mood but doesn't understand the Arabic conversation. Panic creeps into his voice as he tries to re-engage them. Perhaps my cultural advisor could explain our market penetration strategy? Omar suggests desperately. Al-Rashid turns to Amara with barely concealed skepticism. Miss Johnson, what exactly is your background in Middle Eastern business relations? The question hangs in the air like a challenge. Omar realizes he doesn't actually know her qualifications beyond what he witnessed during the phone call. Amara feels the familiar weight of being underestimated, the same look she's seen in 47 job interviews, the same dismissive tone that followed her PhD for months. She thinks of her grandmother's words, "When they doubt your presence, prove your purpose." "I have a doctorate in Middle Eastern Studies from Columbia University," she says calmly. "My dissertation focused on cross-cultural business integration between Arab nations and Western markets." The investor's expression shifts slightly, but skepticism remains. "And your practical experience?" he pressed. "Beyond my academic research, I've consulted on cultural integration projects," Amara responds truthfully, though she doesn't mention those were unpaid academic projects. Omar's business partner, Jake, arrives late and slides into the remaining chair. He takes one look at Amara, and his face shows confusion. "Sorry I'm late," Jake says to Omar. "Where's your translator?" The question hits like a slap. Jake assumes Amara is just another restaurant employee who happened to be at the table. "Amara is our cultural consultant," Omar explains, but Jake's expression shows clear doubt. "Right," Jake says with a forced smile, then turns to the investors. "Should we get someone more senior to handle the cultural aspects?" Al-Rashid's partner whispers again in Arabic. "Perhaps we should reschedule when they have proper representation." Amara hears every word. She sees the doubt in Jake's eyes. She feels the investor's polite but growing disengagement. This is the moment that has defined her entire career. The moment when her qualifications are questioned not because of her knowledge, but because of assumptions about who belongs in the room. Omar watches the deal slipping away. He can feel the investors withdrawing, but he doesn't understand why. "Perhaps," Al-Rashid says diplomatically, "we should continue this conversation when your full executive team is available. It's over. $20 million walking away because of preconceptions and prejudice." But Amara isn't the same woman who quietly accepted 47 rejections. She leans forward slightly, her voice calm but carrying new authority. "Mr. Al-Rashid, before you leave, may I share one insight about why this partnership could transform both your American expansion and Mr. Khalil's Middle Eastern market entry?" Al-Rashid pauses halfway out of his chair. Something in Amara's tone stops him, quiet confidence that cuts through the dismissive atmosphere. "One insight," he says, settling back down. "Then we really must go." Amara nods. "Your company imports traditional Middle Eastern foods into Europe, but you've struggled to break into American markets. Am I correct?" Al-Rashid's eyebrows raise slightly. This wasn't in Omar's presentation materials. "How did you—" Omar starts, but Amara continues. "The challenge isn't logistics or even regulations," Amara says, looking directly at Al-Rashid. "It's cultural positioning. American consumers associate Middle Eastern cuisine with specific regions, Lebanese, Turkish, Moroccan. But your products are marketed generically as Middle Eastern, which means nothing to American buyers." Jake shifts uncomfortably. This level of market analysis wasn't in any of their research. "Your tahini, for example," Amara continues, "is from a Lebanese family recipe that's been perfected over 4 generations. But American labels just say sesame paste. You're selling heritage as a commodity." Al-Rashid leans forward, his dismissive posture forgotten. "You know our product line?" "I researched your company after our phone call," Amara says. "Your biggest competitor, Joyva, captured 60% of the American tahini market by emphasizing their Brooklyn heritage story. You have 4 centuries of Lebanese tradition, but you're hiding it behind generic branding." The room falls silent. Omar stares at Amara, realizing she's just demonstrated market intelligence his own research team missed. "But this creates an opportunity," Amara continues. "Mr. Khalil's logistics software doesn't just track shipments. It can track cultural authenticity, connecting American retailers with the specific regional stories behind each product." She turns to Omar. "Show them the vendor verification module." Omar fumbles with his laptop, pulling up a software feature he'd planned to mention briefly. "This tracks supplier authenticity," he explains, suddenly understanding where Amara is heading. "We can verify that products come from their claimed origins." "Exactly," Amara says. Imagine American consumers scanning a QR code on your tahini jar and seeing video of the actual Lebanese village where it's made. The family that's been perfecting the recipe since 1847. The traditional stone grinding process. Al-Rashid's business partner stops scrolling through his phone, suddenly paying attention. Authentic storytelling, Amara continues, is worth a 30% price premium in American specialty food markets. Your products aren't competing on price anymore. They're competing on heritage. Jake's skeptical expression transforms into amazement. That's actually a brilliant marketing strategy. It's not just marketing, Amara says. It's cultural bridge building. American consumers want authentic experiences. Middle Eastern producers want fair recognition for their traditions. Mr. Khalil's technology makes both possible. Al-Rashid studies her carefully. You understand both markets. I understand the gap between them, Amara replies. And I understand how technology can close that gap while honoring both cultures. Omar watches the investor's body language shift completely. Al-Rashid is no longer checking his watch. His partner has put away his phone entirely. This changes our entire market entry strategy, Al-Rashid says slowly. We've been thinking too small. How many other Middle Eastern suppliers face this same challenge? His partner asks Omar. Hundreds, Omar responds, finally seeing the bigger picture. We could scale this across the entire import market. Al-Rashid looks at Amara with new respect. Dr. Johnson, would you be available for an extended consultation on our American market strategy? Jake's mouth falls open. 20 minutes ago, he was questioning her presence. Now the investors are trying to hire her away, but Omar realizes something profound has just happened. This wasn't just about saving his deal. Amara just revolutionized his entire business model. David Carter has been watching from across the restaurant, pretending to review reservations while actually witnessing the transformation at table 12. He approaches as the conversation reaches its peak, carrying a leather portfolio that wasn't there before. Excuse me, David says politely. I couldn't help but overhear some of your discussion about cultural authenticity in food markets. Al-Rashid looks up, curious about the interruption. I'm David Carter, owner of the Meridian, he continues, and I have a confession to make. Omar tenses, worried about another disruption to his finally successful meeting. Dr. Johnson has been working here for 3 months, David says, and I had no idea about her background until today. That's entirely my failure as an employer. He opens the portfolio and slides a business card across to Amara. I've been watching this conversation and I realize I've been wasting extraordinary talent on table service. The business card reads, Amara Johnson, Ph.D., Director of Cultural Strategy, Meridian Hospitality Group. Amara stares at the card. David, I don't understand. I've been planning to expand our restaurant group internationally, David explains. We have investors interested in Middle Eastern markets, but we've lacked cultural expertise. I just realized the expert was here all along. He turns to the Saudi investors. Gentlemen, if you're looking for someone who understands both American business culture and Middle Eastern traditions, you've found her. Omar watches this endorsement unfold, understanding he's witnessing something rare, a moment when true talent gets recognized by leadership. The position comes with a $90,000 salary, David continues, plus equity in our international expansion ventures. Jake's eyes widened. That's more than some of their senior developers make. Al-Rashid nods approvingly. This is the kind of strategic thinking we value in business partnerships. But David isn't finished. He pulls out his phone and makes a quick call. Sarah, it's David. Remember that cultural consultant position we discussed for the Dubai project? I found our person. Yes, she's available immediately. PhD from Columbia, specializes in Middle Eastern markets. Actually, she's sitting right here impressing Saudi investors as we speak. He hangs up and smiles at Amara. That was Sarah Williams from Meridian International. She wants to schedule a call tomorrow about heading our Middle East expansion. Omar realizes he's watching more than business networking. He's seeing institutional validation, the kind that opens doors and changes careers overnight. Dr. Johnson, Al-Rashid says formally, we would like to propose a consulting contract with your new company, 6 months with potential for extension. David slides another business card to Omar. And Mr. Khalil, if you're looking for a restaurant group that understands international business culture, we should talk about your corporate dining needs. The table falls silent as everyone processes what just happened. In 2 hours, Amara went from invisible waitress to director of cultural strategy with multiple job offers. But Omar sees something deeper in her expression. This isn't just about the money or the titles. It's about finally being seen for who she really is. "Thank you," Amara says quietly to David. "But I have one question." "What's that?" "Can I finish my shift first?" The table erupts in laughter, breaking the tension and sealing the bonds forming between these unlikely business partners. As the investors step away to make calls and David returns to his office duties, Omar and Amara find themselves alone at the table for the first time since his outburst. The restaurant hums with evening energy, but their corner feels suspended in quiet reflection. Omar stares at his hands, an expensive watch catching the light. "I owe you an apology that goes far beyond tonight's business." Amara nods but doesn't speak, letting him find his words. "When I was 12, Omar begins unexpectedly. "My family came to America with nothing. My father washed dishes at a Lebanese restaurant in Detroit. Every night, customers would complain about the foreign staff." He looks up, meeting her eyes for the first time with genuine vulnerability. "I swore I'd never be invisible like that again. I'd never let anyone look through me like I didn't matter." Amara's expression softens slightly. "What happened to your father?" "He worked 18-hour days for 5 years, saved every penny. Eventually, I bought that restaurant." Omar pauses. "But somewhere along the way, I forgot what it felt like to be dismissed. I became the person who dismisses others." The weight of recognition settles between them. "My grandmother raised me after my parents died," Amara shares quietly. "Lebanese immigrants, just like your family probably. She cleaned office buildings at night, studied English during the day." Omar's eyebrows raise. "Lebanese? Her maiden name was Khalil, actually." Amara almost smiles. "She used to say that America gives you two choices, become invisible or fight to be seen, but she taught me a third option, which is, be so undeniably excellent that blindness becomes impossible." Omar feels something crack open in his chest, a recognition deeper than business success or cultural understanding. "I spent tonight watching you be exactly that," he says softly. "And I almost missed it because of my own blindness." They sit in comfortable silence, the earlier tension replaced by something neither expected, mutual understanding born from shared struggle. "Your grandmother," Omar asks, "what would she think about tonight?" Amara touches the small gold pendant at her throat, a piece of Arabic calligraphy her grandmother gave her. "She'd say that sometimes the worst moments crack us open so the light can get in." Omar nods, remembering his own grandmother's Arabic proverbs about adversity and growth. $20 million, he says suddenly. "What? That's what this deal is worth. But sitting here now, I realize the real value wasn't the money. What was it?" Omar looks around the restaurant, at the diverse staff, at the mixing of cultures and stories happening at every table. Learning to see again. The next morning, Amara's phone buzzes at 6 a.m. Omar's name flashes on the screen. "Emergency," his voice crackles through. "The investors want a full presentation today, not just our company. They want to see the entire cultural strategy concept in action." Amara sits up in bed, instantly alert. "What kind of presentation?" 50 American retail executives, major chains like Whole Foods, Target, Costco, specialty importers. If we can convince them to adopt this cultural authenticity model, Al-Rashid will invest 50 million instead of 20. The numbers make her head spin. When? 2 o'clock. 4 hours from now. Amara's stomach drops. "Omar, I've never presented to retail executives. I don't have slides prepared, market research data, financial projections." "You have something better," Omar says. "You have understanding. Will you do this?" She thinks of her grandmother's voice. "When opportunity knocks, don't ask if you're ready. Ask if you're willing." "Yes," she says, "but we do this together." 3 hours later, Amara stands in the conference room of the Meridian's private dining space. 50 executives fill every chair. The Saudi investors sit in the front row. Omar paces nervously by the projection screen. David Carter introduces them. "Ladies and gentlemen, Omar Khalil from Dynamic Logistics and Dr. Amara Johnson, Director of Cultural Strategy." Scattered applause. Some executives check their phones. Others look skeptical about the young black woman claiming expertise in Middle Eastern markets. Amara notices the subtle dismissals, the quick glances that say, "too young," the polite smiles that mask doubt, the same look she's seen in 47 job interviews, but this time feels different. This time, she has proof of her worth. How many of you have walked through the international food aisle of your stores and wondered why sales are so disappointing? She begins. Several hands raise reluctantly. You stock authentic products from family recipes passed down for generations, but they sit on shelves next to mass-produced imitations, and customers can't tell the difference. She points to a man in the front row. Mr. Patterson from Whole Foods, your tahini sales dropped 12% last quarter. Any idea why? Patterson looks surprised she knows his name and company statistics. Market saturation, we assumed. Actually, it's cultural confusion, Amara says. You're selling Lebanese tahini next to Turkish tahini next to mass-produced American tahini, all with similar packaging. Customers buy the cheapest option because they can't identify authentic value. Murmurs ripple through the room. She has their attention now. But what if customers could scan a code and see the actual Lebanese village where their tahini is made? What if they could meet the family that's been perfecting this recipe since 1847? Omar steps forward, pulling up the software demonstration on his laptop. Our tracking system doesn't just follow products, it follows stories. For the next 20 minutes, they work in perfect synchronization. Omar demonstrates the technology while Amara explains the cultural context. She shares market data she researched through the night, consumer psychology studies, examples from other industries where authentic storytelling commanded premium prices. Authentic products with verified cultural stories sell for 35% higher prices, she explains. But more importantly, they create emotional connections that build customer loyalty. A woman from Target raises her hand. This sounds expensive to implement. The opposite, Omar responds. Our software reduces authentication costs by 60% compared to current verification methods. And the cultural insights drive sales increases that far exceed implementation costs, Amara adds. We're not talking about higher expenses, we're talking about higher profits through authentic value creation. The room energy shifts. Executives lean forward asking detailed questions about implementation timelines, scalability, profit margins, but then a man in an expensive suit stands up. This all sounds theoretical. Do you have any actual proof this works? The room falls silent. This is the moment every consultant fears, the demand for concrete results when dealing with an innovative concept. Amara feels her heart pound. She has academic research, market analysis, and compelling logic, but no real-world case studies. Omar sees her hesitation and steps closer, a gesture of solidarity. You want proof? Amara says finally. Yesterday, Mr. Al-Rashid's company was planning a modest entry into American markets. After one conversation applying these principles, they're prepared to invest $50 million instead of 20. She turns to Al-Rashid. Would you like to share what changed your mind? Al-Rashid stands, commanding the room's attention. Dr. Johnson showed us that we weren't just selling products, we were selling heritage. In one evening, she transformed our entire business strategy. And the financial impact? Asked the Target executive. We project this approach will increase our American market penetration by 400% within 2 years, Al-Rashid says. This isn't a theory. This is our new business reality. The room explodes into conversation. Executives pull out phones, making calls to their procurement teams. Business cards appear from every direction. Omar watches Amara field questions with growing amazement. She's not just answering, she's teaching, inspiring, transforming how these business leaders think about cultural commerce. A Costco executive raises her hand. Dr. Johnson, we source products from 17 different countries. Could this model work for Asian and African markets too? Absolutely, Amara responds. Cultural authenticity transcends specific regions. Every culture has stories worth telling and traditions worth honoring. What about scalability? Asks another voice. Mr. Khalil's technology platform is designed to handle multiple cultures simultaneously, she explains. We can verify and share authentic stories from any cultural tradition worldwide. Dr. Johnson, calls out the Whole Foods executive, would you be available for a consulting contract with our international sourcing division? And Target wants to discuss our ethnic foods expansion strategy, adds another voice. More offers come rapid fire, six-figure consulting contracts, speaking engagements, partnership proposals. In the span of 90 minutes, Amara has gone from unemployed PhD to one of the most sought-after cultural business consultants in the room. But Omar notices something remarkable. Success hasn't changed her fundamental character. She's still the same thoughtful, dignified person who helped him despite his earlier cruelty. The presentation ends with thunderous applause. As executives file out, making deals and scheduling follow-up meetings, Al-Rashid approaches them both. Mr. Khalil, Dr. Johnson, he says formally, our investment committee has approved the $50 million partnership. Congratulations. Omar shakes his hand, but his eyes are on Amara. She did it. Against all odds, despite every obstacle, she proved her extraordinary worth to the people who matter most. 6 months later, Amara stands in the same conference room at the Meridian, but everything has changed. The walls now display framed articles from Forbes, Harvard Business Review, and the Wall Street Journal. Headlines read, The Cultural Revolution in Retail, from Waitress to Industry Pioneer, and How One Woman Transformed International Commerce. Today's gathering isn't a desperate pitch meeting. It's a celebration. Omar enters carrying a mahogany box, his face beaming with pride. Behind him walk the same retail executives who questioned Amara's credibility 6 months ago. Now they're here to honor her achievements. Ladies and gentlemen, David Carter announces to the packed room, welcome to the inaugural Cultural Bridge Award ceremony. The audience includes not just business executives, but also university professors, government officials, international trade representatives, and several Saudi dignitaries. Local news cameras capture every moment as CNN prepares a live broadcast. Al-Rashid takes the podium first. 6 months ago, our company projected modest growth in American markets. Today, thanks to Dr. Johnson's Cultural Authenticity Program, we've exceeded our 5-year targets in 6 months. Applause fills the room, but he raises his hand for silence. But the numbers only tell part of the story, he continues. We've received thousands of letters from customers who feel connected to our products in ways they never experienced before. They're not just buying tahini or olive oil, they're buying pieces of cultural heritage. A Target executive stands next. Dr. Johnson's consulting has transformed our entire international foods division. Sales are up 67%, but more importantly, we're building bridges between cultures that seemed impossible to connect. The Whole Foods representative adds her voice. Our customers now understand the difference between authentic cultural products and mass-produced imitations. They're willing to pay premium prices for verified heritage stories. Omar approaches the podium holding the mahogany box. Amara, this recognition isn't just about business success. It's about changing how America sees authentic cultural value. He opens the box, revealing a crystal award engraved with Arabic calligraphy alongside English text. Cultural Bridge Builder, connecting hearts through heritage. But that's not all. Inside the box sits a check for $500,000, Amara's consulting earnings from the past 6 months. Your first year's profit sharing from our partnership, Omar explains, but we have bigger news. David Carter joins them on stage. The Meridian Restaurant Group is proud to announce the Amara Johnson Foundation for Cultural Business Education. A gasp ripples through the audience. Several university representatives lean forward with intense interest. $1 million in scholarship funding for first-generation college students pursuing degrees in cultural studies, international business, and cross-cultural communication. David continues. Dr. Sarah Martinez from Columbia University stands and applauds. Dr. Johnson's work has already influenced curriculum changes in our Middle Eastern Studies program. This foundation will help train the next generation of cultural bridge builders. Amara's hand trembles as she accepts the award. The weight of the crystal feels solid in her palms, but the weight of recognition feels even more substantial. 6 months ago, she begins, her voice steady despite the overwhelming moment. I was serving water to customers who looked right through me. Today, I'm serving connections between cultures that seemed impossible to bridge. The audience leans forward, hanging on every word. Even the CNN cameraman adjusts his position to capture her expression. But this award doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to my grandmother, Layla, who taught me that language is a bridge to understanding. It belongs to every overlooked employee whose potential remains hidden. It belongs to every immigrant family whose stories deserve to be heard. She looks directly at Omar. It belongs to people brave enough to admit their mistakes and change their perspectives. Omar nods, remembering that first terrible encounter and how far they've both traveled since then. Most importantly, Amara continues, this recognition belongs to everyone who believes that business can be about more than profit. It can be about human connection. The applause is thunderous, but Amara isn't finished. I want to share something personal, she says, touching the Arabic pendant at her throat. My grandmother used to say that Allah plants seeds of opportunity in the darkest soil. 6 months ago, I thought my dreams were buried under student debt and rejection letters. She pauses, emotion catching in her voice. But sometimes the worst moments crack us open so the light can find its way in. A woman in the audience wipes away tears. Several executives nod in recognition of their own buried dreams and second chances. The foundation we're announcing today will ensure that no brilliant mind gets trapped in the wrong job because of financial barriers or cultural misunderstanding, Amara declares. Al-Rashid stands, beginning a standing ovation that spreads throughout the room like a wave. As the applause continues, Omar thinks back to that first evening. His arrogance nearly cost him the deal of a lifetime. His prejudice almost blinded him to extraordinary talent standing right in front of him. Now, watching Amara command respect from industry leaders and government officials, he realizes the true value of what happened that night. It wasn't about saving a business deal. It was about discovering that excellence often hides in unexpected places, waiting for someone brave enough to see it. After the ceremony, as guests mingle and share their own stories of hidden potential, Amara finds a quiet moment with David. You took an enormous risk that first night, she tells him. Letting a waitress sit with important customers violated every policy. David smiles. The biggest risk would have been not recognizing your talent. Great leaders don't follow policies when policies prevent greatness. Later, as the evening winds down, Omar approaches Amara one final time. I have something for you, he says, pulling out a small wrapped package. Inside is a business card holder made from Lebanese cedar wood, engraved with her new title, Dr. Amara Johnson, founder and CEO, Cultural Bridges International. Your grandmother would be proud, Omar says softly. Amara runs her fingers over the smooth wood, remembering hands that taught her to speak with dignity, to bridge differences with understanding, and to never let anyone make her feel invisible. She would say that bridges are strongest when they're built from both sides, Amara replies. As the last guests leave and the cameras pack up, Amara stands alone in the conference room where her life changed forever. The Crystal Award catches the light from the chandelier above, casting rainbow reflections across the walls where her achievements now hang framed in gold. 6 months ago, she was invisible. Tonight, she's unforgettable. 1 year later, Amara walks through the doors of the Meridian restaurant. But this time, she's not carrying water pitchers or clearing tables. She's leading a delegation of 12 young professionals, all scholarship recipients from the Amara Johnson Foundation. Each one carries a story of hidden potential finally recognized. This is where it all began, she tells them, gesturing toward table 12, where Omar once humiliated her in Arabic. The young professionals look around in wonder. Maria, a first-generation Mexican-American with a degree in Asian studies, whispers, You really went from waitress to CEO in one night? Not in one night, Amara corrects gently. The potential was always there. It just took the right moment for someone to see it. David Carter approaches with a warm smile. Dr. Johnson, welcome back. Your usual table? It's become a monthly tradition. Amara brings her foundation scholars to the Meridian to share their own breakthrough stories over dinner. Tonight's group includes James, a former custodian who speaks 6 languages and now works as a cultural consultant for Microsoft. Sarah, who went from retail clerk to international trade specialist after completing her foundation-sponsored degree. Marcus, whose knowledge of African markets landed him a position with the World Bank. Each of your stories matters, Amara tells them as they settle around the expanded table 12. Every time someone sees past a job title to recognize human potential, the world changes a little. Omar arrives with his own surprise. He's brought 3 new scholarship recipients, young people from his company who showed exceptional cultural intelligence despite starting in entry-level positions. The ripple effect keeps growing, he says to Amara. Our cultural authenticity program now operates in 43 countries, but more importantly, we've identified and promoted 17 people who were overlooked by traditional hiring practices. The dinner conversation flows between languages and cultures. Arabic mixes with Spanish, Mandarin, and French as these young professionals share their dreams and challenges. But the most powerful moment comes when Marcus stands up. Dr. Johnson, he says, I want to thank you for something specific. Not just the scholarship money, but for showing us that being underestimated isn't a limitation. It's preparation. The table falls quiet. When people look at me and see just another young black man, I remember that someone once looked at you and saw just a waitress, and you turned that blindness into your superpower. Amara feels tears forming, remembering her grandmother's words about seeds growing in dark soil. That's the real lesson, she responds. Excellence doesn't announce itself. It waits patiently for recognition, but while it waits, it prepares. As dinner ends, David makes an announcement that surprises everyone. The Meridian Restaurant Group is expanding the Foundation's reach. We're opening cultural bridge centers in 12 cities, offering free language classes, cultural education, and business mentoring. The young professionals cheer, but Amara notices something deeper happening. At neighboring tables, other diners have been listening. A businessman approaches Marcus to discuss African market opportunities. A restaurant manager asks Sarah about her language skills. Connections form organically as people recognize potential they might have missed. Later, as the group prepares to leave, Omar pulls Amara aside. I've been thinking about that first night, he says. Do you ever wonder how many other Amaras are out there? How many brilliant minds are invisible because we're not looking hard enough? Amara smiles. That's why we're here. That's why the Foundation exists, to make sure fewer people stay invisible. As they walk toward the exit, she stops at the hostess station where a young woman is organizing reservation lists with remarkable efficiency and attention to detail. Excuse me, Amara says gently. I'm Dr. Amara Johnson. What's your name? Isabella, the young woman responds, slightly startled by the attention. Isabella, do you speak any other languages? 4, actually, Italian, Portuguese, French, and some German, but they said I only needed English for this job. Amara exchanges a meaningful look with Omar and David. Isabella, David says, would you be interested in learning about our Cultural Bridge program? As they exchange contact information, Amara realizes the cycle continues. Excellence keeps revealing itself to those willing to see it. Walking out into the Seattle night, surrounded by young people whose potential is finally being recognized, Amara thinks of her grandmother's words one more time. The seeds planted in darkness have become a forest of opportunity. But here's the question that matters most. Who are you not seeing today? Look around you. At the cashier who handles difficult customers with remarkable patience. At the janitor who speaks 3 languages. At the server who solves problems with quiet intelligence. What extraordinary talents are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice? Sometimes the most remarkable people are standing right in front of us. All we have to do is see them.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.